Hello again, welcome to Bridlington on the 30th of January 2025. We're just walking through the town here and we'll head down towards the harbour. Beautifully crisp and fresh morning at 3 degrees centigrade. We drove across the York Plain this morning from York. The temperature was -1. The Gypsy Race River entering the harbour. The Three Brothers cobble tied up over there. You can see a diminished flow into the harbour here. So it hasn't been raining much recently. And you can see here the winter sun is definitely higher than 2 or 3 weeks ago, which means at last the days are starting to lengthen in the UK and here in the north of England. That really matters, as it's been a pretty cool winter. Having said that, let's talk about some of the current events that have been happening now. I'm going to show you again this area down here. Now that's the crane wharf at Bridlington, and in my earlier videos I've mentioned and shown the underwater toilet there. Correctly called the sea latrine these days, but that was the only toilet in the harbour. Now this is the one. Now I told I should give a trigger warning on this because look how narrow the entrance is. Now you can see the entrance here. Now I'm 6'2" and I'm pretty slim, but I can only just walk in there. Shoulders would almost brush the sides. And that's the outlet down there where it used to flow out into the harbour. But there's also a female toilet here. I'll just show you that one. Back in the day, right up into the 1950s, these were sort of working toilets. Oh, just have a look at the beauty of Bridlington Harbour there, the harbour entrance with the January sun. I'll come back onto the weather shortly. I'll just show you this situation down here because there is a little beach down here. Now that's the female toilet entrance. All of this boarding, of course, has been put on there since. But if I creep down here, this is the actual entrance to the female toilet. Now I'll put my hand here. You can see how wide that is. Now my chest is about 41, 42 inches. I couldn't walk into there. I couldn't get my shoulders in to walk in. How narrow it is. Make of that what you will. That's how things were back in the day here. We'll walk down these steps and have a look at the beach here as the tide is out. It always changes down here. You can hear the gentle lap of the water there. We'll look at the old, I think this is the old sewer system here, where sewage used to gush into the harbour from the town, and perhaps in my imagination beyond from the villages out at sea. Now there used to be a metal plate that came down there. You'll see this, there are tunnels that go off in that direction and tunnels that go off in that direction. And actually there's a tunnel that goes up there. Very interesting. I don't ever think about going in there because Don't ever think about going in there, because look at the water level at high tide. This is the old structure where fishing cobbles used to tie up a few decades ago. And here is the underneath of Bridlington Crane Wharf, with these tyres that I've mentioned before embedded in the structure. Now, as I've said before, these were from memory placed here because it seemed as though the structure was moving about when the engineers were building it, when they were pouring the concrete on top. The Gypsy Race dredger, which is the most important ship in Bridlington Harbour, because without it the whole harbour would silt up with mud. Mud being brought down by the Gypsy Race River at the back of the harbour there. Such a peaceful scene, and yet there was a severe weather warning. There have been severe weather warnings a lot recently, earlier on this week, and just last night warning about severe weather coming to the UK. Another storm coming. You listen to the news, it's almost made out as though it's the end of the world these days if you get a little bit of a winter storm. It's just actually normal winter weather. And of course, what we usually do, if you get a severe weather warning, for us it's a good signal to set off to the east coast and have a look around, and there's no one here hardly. Mostly because of the temperatures, I think. Did you see the lighthouse there on Flamborough Head? I'm not sure whether that's the old lighthouse or the new one. Little reference on what's happening today. Last night there was that terrible crash between an American passenger aircraft and a Black Hawk, a helicopter, where they hit each other and crashed into the river, seemingly. I haven't watched the news thoroughly. The news channels are covering that basically. But prior to that, they were covering climate and sort of climate change. I was watching the BBC, and it seemed that the presenters, or some of them, were using, I call it a martyr voice, a certain tone of voice, seemingly, when talking about climate change. Now, very interesting. I'm not taking a stance on that at all. I wouldn't do that, but just to say that I am 76 years old now, so perhaps you'd expect me to be into the latest tech, and of course I am. with the iPhone here, I heard about the latest artificial intelligence app and system from China called DeepSeek, which is on the Apple Store. And I immediately misunderstood it and thought it was DeepThroat. I thought it was DeepThroat. It was actually DeepSeek, which actually just shows you my age and not the stuff that I've been watching years ago. Maybe it ought to have been called DeepThroat actually, because this this technology seems to have kneecapped the entire American artificial intelligence industry at the moment, because this is actually available seemingly for free, and according to what I've been reading, it's either 100 times better or done 100 times cheaper, done in a way that doesn't need great big powerful chips or vast expenditure on money. And this is literally, I read a sort of a comment on Reddit which amused me. You know how with artificial intelligence people are worried about it's going to take their jobs away. Well, of course you'll be aware that there's an artificial intelligence program called ChatGPT. In fact, it's one of the main ones, and I believe it's the one that Apple taps into, you know, on the iPhone and iOS at the moment. And this comment read something like, ChatGPT has just lost its job due to artificial intelligence, because the Chinese one is actually free, but more important than that, it's open source. So that means that anybody can, you know, download the entire thing, the whole source of the software and everything, and given sufficient resources, make their own artificial intelligence program. And this is seemingly blown apart the entire artificial intelligence industry. I find it very interesting actually, coming straight out of the blue there, as they say. Anyway, back onto, that's what I've been thinking about. I'll just go on to tell you this. So I entered some parameters about global warming, and I referenced the Younger Dryas period of prehistory, which you no doubt are aware massive temperature changes occurred on the Earth, and tried to get it to contrast that period in geological time with the current man-made climbing. Sorry, not climbing. Too cold to hold the phone here. Man-made climate agenda, climate change. So it sort of seemed to do that, but was really pushing the what almost seemed like the BBC narrative to me, which seems like biased. So then I asked it to. I gave it some very specific commands, asking it to show me the positive side of man-made climate change, how that would affect the UK in particular, but also the great northern areas, the tundra and so on of Siberia, that enormous land up there. It went on to say that given man-made climate change, if it carried on, the UK would be a better place for agriculture, much better. It might be possible to do 2 crops a year. All sorts of crops could be grown that couldn't be grown now, and it was a sort of a whole benefit thing for the UK. I mean, I'm sure that's not the case for countries like Spain and the semi-arid desert you've got there in central Spain, but nevertheless, this would actually improve the UK. It would also improve it from the point of view of being able to go outside more, wouldn't it, sort of in summer. But also the great big regions of Siberia would become more able to grow crops. At the moment it's just frozen tundra with reindeer and wolves roving about, but that would then be farmable. So on the whole thing, I found it very interesting. So I'm not sure you'd get that out of anywhere but an artificial intelligence program, but it seemed fair enough to me, and it sort of reflected what I already knew about agriculture. How agriculture would benefit from if the temperatures warmed up in the UK, you know, like it has done in prior to the last 100 years. You know, when the Romans were here, of course, apparently it's possible to grow grapes in the UK. So anyway, that's what's been going through my mind, and here we are in Bridlington again. Now here is a chap digging for sandworms. I've done my share of that. You've got to move fast because sandworms can move fast as well. Oh, what a beautiful day. Very cold though. Now I'm going to go into the shelter of the town and get my hands warm. So at this point I'll say goodbye again from beautiful Bridlington, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care now. Goodbye for now.